Yeah, I really want people to understand that the way that we got used to using these platforms is they give us the platform access for free, and then we give them all of our data. And we've been okay with that because we didn't understand the value. But now it's been 15 years, let's say, since we've been really engaged in social media, and we understand the value of our data because all of that money is going to the advertising companies who use it to sell us stuff.
Hello and welcome, dear viewers and listeners. I'm your host, Sergey Kiklevich. I'm the CEO of YOLO, and this is On-Chain Attention Podcast. We have a special guest today who's returning to us. His name is Kelly Miller, aka Crypto Kelly. You can find him pretty much everywhere if you type Crypto Kelly online. And Kelly, welcome here. As you know, we talk about all kinds of interesting things when it comes to the Web3 space, the creator economy, attention economy, blockchain space, all kinds of innovation. But to kick today's episode off, I really want to talk about just the macro picture. And yesterday we touched $93,000 per Bitcoin. And you see what's happening. What's your take on the whole situation? Give us a little commentary from yourself. Um, Welcome to the podcast.
Sure, thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, we had a really exciting week this week, last 10 days or so. And it feels like a lot of the pressures that were on the market, the uncertainty around the election and not knowing how the US was going to be approaching crypto in the future was suppressing the market as a whole. And so we're seeing a lot of these pressures let off and it kind of the acceleration of the market such a quick time to me says that there were a lot of people watching this event all over the globe and we're waiting to see what happened. And then it seems like now the best possible outcome for the crypto market has occurred because not only is Trump pro business, but he's also very pro crypto. And he's had an NFT collection. His sons are building an exchange. They have a token. They're fully invested in this ecosystem. Whether or not they believe in the greater vision is to be seen, but still, we know that the direction for the country is now looking much better for the future of crypto. So that is the signal to everybody else in the entire world that there is actual growth that is going to occur in this. And so this really quick acceleration to me just says all of this momentum was being built for a while, and then now this pressure is let off, and then it explodes to 93,000. Solana went from 160 to 220. And looking at the three biggest tokens, you can see this is where the interest is going. And it's kind of setting the stage for the next year or more. And there's kind of this idea that crypto follows these cycles of 4 years based around the halving of Bitcoin. But I am kind of thinking that if anything, previous cycles are an underestimation of the way that things are going now because
Mhm.
back in 2020, there was a lot of interest, but there was no BlackRock, no Fidelity saying 80% of your portfolio should be in Bitcoin, and Van Eck CEO saying that they're targeting Bitcoin being a part of strategic reserves for countries. So there's a lot of big momentum around this idea that Bitcoin finally people are understanding the use case and the big funds who have as much money as countries are finally understanding, oh wow, as a financial instrument, this is really useful for us to have something stable as the dollar looks more scary and the bond market continues its decline and there's all these pressures on the fiat system now,
Mhm.
and none of those pressures are on the crypto system. So it kind of feels like there's this real big energy that's growing, and it's exciting to think about.
So is it fair to say that what you're pointing to indirectly, obviously, I don't think that you're pointing to it directly, is that to anybody out there on the outside who has not yet gotten into blockchain related technologies, projects, tokens, who is not holding anything, this is still just the beginning, even though we're approaching $100,000 per Bitcoin. It's
If you look at even what Van Eck is saying, they are looking at it to going to 300,000 this next year. And if it reaches somewhere similar to gold's market cap, because everybody wants to look at Bitcoin like a commodity, like gold. But
uh-huh.
unlike Bitcoin, gold has a huge market that's been mined all over the world, and all of the miners are very similar to the diamond miners, where they just hold a bunch of it off of the market to keep it scarce. And that in and of itself is kind of like a manipulation of the supply and demand economics. So with Bitcoin, everybody knows how much there's going to be. Everybody sees that there is something here that has value and that we as society give it value. So as long as it has that value and continues to be used in a certain way, then it doesn't matter what it is. But having a fixed supply that is only mined at a certain rate that is diminishing gives people an easier projection into the future. So I'm thinking a lot about how does this fit into the economic system that we have, and how can it be used as a hedge against the one that we have, and a way to look into the future to see how digital currencies are going to be used for everything. And everybody is building payment rails now. Solana is being used for a lot of digital payments. Right now, it's mostly just meme coins and dog coins and other things like that. But it's an example of the use of the technology at scale. So if it can do thousands and thousands of transactions a second, and it can maintain this stability as it's growing and more people pile into the technology, then it proves use for blockchain. It proves use for digital currency. People start to see the frictionlessness of cross-border payments and all of these things that everybody wants, but the legacy systems are kind of hampering their growth. So now all of that is going to change because there's an administration coming in on a global level that's setting the example that crypto has a use. So yeah, I tell everyone, like, even if you don't understand what's happening, this is an ecosystem where you can build from scratch the communities that you want to build. And it's so young, it's so new that there are still so many spaces for people to build whatever they want. But you have to get involved somehow. So that means you have to have something, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, whatever, like you have to have some asset that you can be a part of this ecosystem in.
Okay, that's actually a great point. You've been up to a lot of things yourself, and you've organically built your own community over the course of the last several years by getting into the industry years ago. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to. Tell us a little bit about what you see the opportunities. Maybe you pointed to like there are still gaps where many people can build their audiences, build their niche markets, build their presence, build the communities. What do you see from your vantage point?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been trying to build this space for people who don't know anything about tech or finance or crypto, and they listen to the Western media and they think it's all just scams and criminal behavior. But when you're actually in the ecosystem every day, you see the things that are being built. Just yesterday, Doodles, this NFT project, did a collaboration with McDonald's, and they are printing the Doodles brand art on their cups as like a promotional uh, marketing campaign using NFT brands. So to me, that shows that this is so much bigger than just about the money. It's about building an idea and a world and a space for you, something you care about, whether you have a piece of art that you want to share whether you're building a whole world that turns into a game or turns into some kind of ecosystem for people to just communicate around ideas, to share ideas. So that's what I'm doing. I want to show people a way that you can come into this space, whether you know something or nothing, and understand how it is in its current state. So you don't have to think about being overwhelmed by everything because it's so much information. So I'm trying to make a way to help people learn, help them grow, help them see how this ecosystem, although scary, how it can benefit you. Because with AI and crypto, the whole world is changing and everybody's going to have to upskill and learn new things. So we have to let go of our fear and just embrace all of the new ideas, all of this information, and understand how it can benefit us in whatever we're doing for the rest of our lives. And now's the time to do it because it's still so small.
I got you. So you're seeing applications of NFTs with real brands and with real world campaigns. You're seeing traction in, I assume, other industries too. You're a musician yourself, in the background music. Have you seen anything in the music world that has been relevant to our conversation here?
Yeah, there's a few apps out there that are helping artists build their brands by allowing people to invest in them directly as an artist through this platform, not just by buying their music or whatever, but actually having a vehicle, whether it's a token or some other kind of NFT. It's a direct investment in that artist and their growth. And it's been really cool to see all of the different markets that spin off of that as well in terms of the financial instruments. There's some app that allows you to look at the streaming data of certain musicians and kind of predict the direction of the flow, whether it's going to go up or down. And that's a whole market right there that people can kind of prediction markets around that, around the streaming numbers of music. So that's something that wasn't possible in any other time of our
Mm.
life. But now we can use all of these technologies together to create new markets. And whether or not that's a good thing is up for debate. But either way, it's allowing for more financialization of products and digital things, and we really start to understand the value of all of our data and how you individually can make money off of the data, not just giant companies.
I got you. Um, you interact with a lot of people on a daily basis. You have a community of followers that pay attention to what you publish. I would call you almost an evangelist in a way, in the blockchain space, not in a religious context, but in a way that you've been pioneering, you've been broadcasting the message, you've been really vouching for the industry. I'm sure that there are a lot of misconceptions out there. I meet some of them in your conversations with different types of people and in different situations. What are the most common misconceptions that people have about blockchain technology in general?
The number one thing I encounter is people think that it's just for traders and that you have to be a trader in order to enter into the crypto space. And I know now for a fact that that is not true because you can be a musician, you can make an NFT of your song, you can start releasing your content around the music because now every musician has to make content in order to promote their music. So if you can find a way to put that on the blockchain, then every piece of content that you have becomes a product, not just something that you use for marketing that goes to TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. And so there's a lot of next generation of the creator economy products like YOLO and others that are seeing this idea of, oh, we can make everything we do as a brand be something that is a product rather than just marketing for the product. And that means that every business in the entire world can use that model to have additional revenue streams, to think more holistically about their message. And then it doesn't really become about what the product is, it's more about what is your vision and what is your plan and how can you get people to go along with that. So that's why I really love this space, because you can do whatever you want. You just have to figure out a way to use the technology to make it work. And it allows for so many different possibilities. So that it doesn't have anything to do with trading.
Right.
You can just buy it and use that Solana, use that Bitcoin, that Ethereum to build the thing that you want that's appropriate for you. It's not traded, it's actually used. And as the ecosystem grows, there will be less traders in the market and more builders. And that's what's happening now. More builders are building platforms that people are using every day. And it isn't just financial instruments, it's actual real things.
Really interesting. The other day I was chatting with somebody else, and we brought up this whole issue of data ownership. In a traditional, what we refer to as the Web 2 world, data has been shared, has been monitored, has been gathered, has been tracked and resold by this big tech companies for as long as they've been around. So you and I, as users of the web, our data has been circulating around us, about us, for a long, long time. It's been monetized by all these other companies and all these other third parties, and we're not really getting anything. What excites me about the Web3 space, and I want your take on this, is that it seems that in this next iteration of where the web online based technologies are headed, the data ownership is shifting back to a more private state where you and I will hold the keys to our own data, and it's up to us to determine who we want to share it with, who we don't want to share it with, how we want to sell it, potentially resell it, rent it, lease it. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of different models. What's your take on just data ownership and this transition from Web 2 to Web 3 space or era or generation of technology as it relates to just people, average day users, and as it relates to a bunch of projects that are starting in the Web3 space?
Yeah, I really want people to understand that the way that we got used to using these platforms is they give us the platform access for free, and then we give them all of our data. And we've been okay with that because we didn't understand the value. But now it's been 15 years, let's say, since we've been really engaged in social media, and we understand the value of our data because all of that money is going to the advertising companies who use it to sell us stuff. So in a way, it helps you as a consumer, but in another way, you are giving something that is so incredibly valuable to you away for nothing to another company to make a bunch of money on. So crypto and blockchain technology in general just allows for people to own their own interactions with every single platform. And however that manifests, you are the one that's in control because you have the choice to connect to that site through your wallet or not. And everything that you do that interacts with that is tracked and on most blockchains publicly available to sift through and understand how it works. And so people will start to understand that, oh, wait, if I connect to this platform and I interact with it in a way that this platform tracks everything I do, and I can also look at all of their data as well, that at least is on chain, then you have a better understanding of the value of your own time, energy, effort in this space. And on top of that, you can get rewarded by those platforms for interacting with them, just purely interacting with them. Imagine if every time you went to Facebook and you posted something, you got something back. Imagine if every time you went to Amazon and you used the platform to buy something, you also got some token, some point system that actually has a secondary market for you to be able to trade it. You know, everything has a value that is directly applied to you. And then not only that, there are platforms like Jupiter that they are rewarding every user of their platform in multiple different ways because they know that in order to build the strongest base of customers and loyal consumers of their product, they give them a very direct benefit that they can see right away. They might not have access to it. It might be like a token that's staked, so they can't sell it right away, but they
Hmm.
can see, oh, this actually has monetary value and I got it just for being a part of this platform. So I think it's going to set an example for people, and especially with gaming too. Games take a lot of your data, and
Hmm.
for a long time, we've just gotten used to all of these programs that live behind the UI of the game that's taking all of our data. And you're playing the game and it's tracking everything you do, but you don't make anything from that. But with blockchain games, you will be able to quantify and value your own interaction with that ecosystem, and it will be able to be rewarded directly. So why would you do anything else is my question. When you understand how it works, you're like, I don't want to give my data away for free anymore.
And honestly, that's where I'm looking at the future. I'm looking at the opportunity to allow people at mass scale to rent out their attention, rent out their time, energy spent, clicks, registrations, whatever the engagement and interactivity that they are giving to these big platforms. I see an opportunity to completely change that whole ecosystem. And I do understand that there is a level of resistance that there's going to be naturally there. These huge, gigantic platforms like Google, for example, they know what's coming. I just
Mhm.
wonder, are they going to participate in the redistribution of this as a friend, or are they going to turn into a foe that will resist this type of change? And that's actually a question. If you have anything to add to this, like, what do you think these big companies are going to turn into? Foes or friends that will just accept the reality of what's coming their way?
My hope in the eternal optimist in me believes that they will see the financial benefit of releasing their captivity of certain markets because they will have already built these systems and it'll be easy for them to integrate. Like every business in the world could integrate into blockchain tomorrow if they wanted to, but they don't understand the benefits that it can bring them long term. They just care so much more about the short term stock price valuation and how to inflate that by buying back their own stock or doing some other things like firing thousands of people. So it's kind of this battle right now that I believe if we can show more people, more businesses specifically, the
Hmm.
benefits that you can have from your organization, whatever your agenda is, how you can use this technology to directly benefit yourself and the people who interact with your platform. Okay, Google, you've gotten away with owning 98% of search and using all our data to sell to advertisers. But imagine if you used that power in a different way that empowered the users, that gave them some sort of benefit, whether it's like financial or whatever, that actually has a direct correlation to their behavior on the platform. Then you would create the most loyal customers and the people who are the most engaged customer. And the more that I learn about business, the more I see that everybody wants hardcore, engaged, die-hard fans,
Oh,
but
yeah.
there's less and less reason for them to be as a company becomes more monopolistic. And it's not just in the US. Like in the US, there's this perception that crypto is only for scams and it doesn't have any real use case. But in the other parts of the world, and what I see here in Turkey, is that they believe that there is a way for them as individual people to have a freedom and to have a way to access a global market that they would otherwise never have, and to get companies to value them as a person who isn't an American or Western person. They finally feel like they have some value to a company and that they can grow along with that company. And I think if every company sees that value and sees the way that it will make people feel, then they will want to do it this way. They will want to use blockchain in some integration into their system, not even including all of the efficiencies that can be created through this technology that we just got used to wasting so much and wasting so much energy on building things that don't pan out, or like Apple with the Vision Pro, they already said they're closing it after they spent like billions of dollars building them and doing all the research and everything, and now they're realizing, oh, we spent too much, we did too much. And they were able to do all of these things because of their supply chain domination that they have, this
Yeah.
whole ecosystem that they have built. But blockchain will allow to reduce all of the waste that is coming from all of these systems, especially in shipping. I think that's another really big one. And people will, every use case, every experiment, every trial and error that's happening in crypto right now is an example and a precedent that will be set for the future. This is how you can save money and time. And I believe that saving money and time and
Yeah.
creating more engaged customers will attract every large business, and hopefully they will see that outweighs everything that they're dealing with now.
You mentioned multiple times today about the cost savings, right? And we talked about some misconceptions. So one misconception that is out there as well that I witness is somebody brings like, oh, but doesn't blockchain use a lot of resources and a lot of energy? That's one, which is kind of contrary to what you're saying about the savings. I'm not saying that that is the case, but I want you to address it. And then two, the savings that you're talking about, give us a real flavor of why you think that way. Why, where do you see these types of savings coming from, enabled by the blockchain technology in particular?
Sure, yeah. Um, with the savings part, there is an example where you can build a blockchain-based shipping tracking system.
Mm-hmm.
So people will use AI and the robots on the shipping platforms to tag and track everything, basically like what UPC labels do now. But everything becomes
Mm-hmm.
verified, and it allows it so they can do everything remotely. And blockchain will allow people to create these shipping companies without needing to be near a dock, without needing to have actual human beings loading the containers onto the ships. And people from the middle of nowhere can run a shipping company using all of this technology and track all of their information going in and out of the system using blockchain. And that's kind of something that's starting to be built right now. So it eliminates a lot of the inefficiencies of having to deal with weather, people calling in sick, the money that's lost from the things just sitting there on the docks, and the everything being integrated all together has like a very direct uh, qualification. So with the
Interesting.
blockchains itself as well, um, Bitcoin is used as the example because it is the most energy intensive, but it is the most energy intensive. So that means that every other blockchain actually uses less energy. And right now, Solana, one transaction is actually the same and a little bit less than one Google search in terms of energy costs,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I know. So
There you
That
go.
means that means that every transaction is already being used that same amount of energy. And with AI coming, we will start to see more transition to updated energy sources, less reliance on fossil fuels. And we already saw it with Google and Microsoft restarting 3 Mile Island because they need it. They need it. Like AI uses so much energy. When Facebook turned on Llama, it was sucking so much energy out of the California energy grid, they had to shut it down to like limit it
Hmm.
because our old infrastructure in the US cannot keep up with this energy demand. So I believe that all of this stuff will solve itself over time and that the push is for efficiency and low cost energy, whether it's solar, nuclear. When we ever figure out nuclear fusion, which has also had a few breakthroughs as well, and all of these things that will kind of combine to make it more energy efficient, less wasteful, and less fossil fuel dependent as well.
Yeah, and if you if you bet on us figuring things out with technology, even more so, because if you look at the track record of the last 50, 60 years, technology has played a big role in everything that we're witnessing, everything that we've done so far. If we continue that projection, it's not that unreasonable to assume that the ability to capture the energy from the sun and from the wind and other things is going to get greater. And some of the larger players that were disincentivized by the profits that were generated by the fossil fuels, right? You know, natural gas, oil, and a few other derivatives like coal. Uh, Use of technology, use of AI to figure out how to use the technology to become more effective and efficient in capturing what's already available 24, well, not exactly 24/7, but on the planet 24/7, on a planetary
Mm-hmm.
scale. If energy does not become as important as we say it is, like it becomes more available and it becomes maybe less centralized, but more localized and including private sectors. This is an interesting thing that I got from speaking to a gentleman from South Africa this week, that the private sector moved into energy as well because people don't
Yeah.
want to rely on the government providing energy. So
Yeah.
private sector has been creating localized, basically power sources that become an alternative to the national grid.
Mm-hmm.
So if we continue to solve the energy problem by using technology, all of a sudden this whole, isn't this using a lot of energy in terms of blockchain and AI as well, the whole issue kind of goes away. And then
Exactly.
leads me to another interesting subject that I want to talk about. So when you were talking about Google and Meta and without naming names, but platforms, the big tech companies that have been leveraging user generated content, right? They've been using our work, our labor, our time, our energy that we're paying for one way or another. We're paying for the electric bill. They've been leveraging it in generating trillions and trillions of dollars over the last decade plus.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're moving into the era of AI generated content. So the future has user generated content, human generated content, and now AI, software generated content, kind of coming to a point where boom, they're going to collide. And from some projections that I'm getting from people that are in the AI industry, they're data scientists, data analysts, there is, the numbers are a bit scary that like next year in 2025, 90 plus percent of what's searchable online, what that Google and other search engines pick up, is going to be a lot of what's referred to as like digital noise, AI generated content. Now,
Mm-hmm.
some of it is going to be good, some of it is going to be great, a lot of it is going to be shit,
Yeah.
horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, given that we're heading there, what are your thoughts? Maybe what's your vision of how we can make sure that the human or humanly generated user content keeps its value and does not get reduced to nothing, to where we're just realize that the data, and it's also content is data too, the bytes and bits is very valuable. So much value in it that industries like blockchain and AI have been basically born as the result of the value of data, because we started valuing it so much. And here we are, potentially at a risk of devaluing the type of data and information that is out there, because these machine based learning systems and algorithms are able to produce data at scale, at lightning speeds, at fraction of a cost. Where do you see the role of a human being and human generated content in the world of digital content, in the world of social media, in the world of arts?
Yeah, that's definitely something that's happening. And I think the big solution for that is that you still need a human to set the boundaries for these AIs and to set the direction for how they go. There are people right now using all of these different AIs to create content and building entire storylines around the AI that they tell what to do, but they are still directing it. So
Mm-hmm.
there's this idea of things called AI agents, agentic AI, which means I have an AI that is basically my research assistant that I can tell it to do this and it'll do it for me. I can tell it to build a website, it'll build a website for me. I can tell it to make a video, it will make a video for me. So then the way that you filter out what's good is the human factor. What are the creative skills? What are the technical skills? The understanding of this sector that you have as the director of these AI agents to refine and to filter out all of the different things that it's giving you, all of the options, all of the content that it's creating. So the people who will be able to really refine the AIs, what they generate, and have that human element will become even more important. So it's more pressure on the humans to be better at the thing that they're good at and to use the tools to be the best and to get the best result. Because when everybody has access to the technology, the same technology that before only major budget studios or big recording studios or any like major platform, if you all have the same technology, then it's just about who can speak the most directly to the actual humans. Because at the end, it's still the humans who are buying stuff. Now, when we get into everything having AI agents where it's AI is buying and selling stuff to each other, which is happening in crypto right now, AI agents are buying and selling crypto to each
Yeah.
other. And that is a whole nother ecosystem that will be created, but again, will require the humans to figure out what do the AIs care about and how can we engage them as new customers at being built from scratch, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel like this entire ecosystem is just going to explode in a way that we can't really even imagine right now because we are going to be creating beings out of nothing that will have their own autonomy and their own ability to buy, sell, move, build, create. And the humans behind them, directing them, are going to be the most important people. So that's why I'm trying to help people understand this right now. Because if you understand it now and you learn how to use these tools, then you will know how to filter out the bad content that is being created by the AIs or the malicious content created by some people in order to protect yourself because otherwise you're just going to be lost. And I think that comparing it to literacy is probably the strongest analogy because you do not want to be illiterate in today's world. If you can't read in any language, then you are severely hampered in your own abilities
Yeah.
to just engage in the world. And learning these tools is exactly like that. You have to think of it like that. You will be illiterate if you do not understand how to use this technology. So that's why I'm trying to build this whole community to show people the value. And now, while things are in their nascent stage, you can build something real.
I agree, and you bring two more questions into my mind. I'll start with the first one. You just pointed to the literacy aspect of things, that we must learn in order to understand what's happening, and in order to take advantage, like be at, or at least keep the status quo that maybe used to be the status quo, whatever that means in personal terms, right? For somebody to keep the level of income, the level of work and life balance, to provide for their families, have a particular lifestyle. If you don't learn about this, chances are that soon in the future, your status quo may be not enough for you to have the level of a lifestyle that you're used to. So what I see is part of the issue, which is also an opportunity, is lack of educators in the space. Like
Mhm.
people like you are still so far in between, and we need to create more and more people that can explain in simple terms and ongoing basis the opportunity and attract
Yes.
people to get into the space. So I'm looking for a growth spur in platforms that will be the educators in the Web3 space. And frankly, we as a company are building our own brand, Vividly Academy, for that. You know very well that that's been a big thing. And I see a great opportunity there because there seems to be a scarcity of educated people that can educate other people that are educated in other ways, but not in this way.
They're not teachers.
They're
And
not teachers.
that's what I want to bring to people's attention is you as whatever you are, like your profession, your passions, they're not represented in this space. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a place for you. It means that you can build it yourself. And how do I know that? Because I literally did it. So I'm trying
Tell
to
us more.
just use myself as an example to show people that, okay, I didn't know anything about tech. I didn't know anything about finance. I didn't know how money worked. I didn't know how markets worked. But I learned all of that stuff and I was able to see it from my creative background, my perspective, my own history and frame it in a way that was unique to people in the market. And that's how people started listening to me in the first place, because I just started talking about things that I liked from my perspective. And I would find them before most people knew about them. And then they would blow up into these big things because the bigger picture was more important that I could see from my objective perspective that wasn't looking at it from the technical angle or the finance angle. I could see it from a more human perspective. And that is what is needed in this space. We need the educators, we need the creatives, we need everybody who isn't in this space right now, because that's how it really grows and it's how people understand the value of it to them. So I started sharing my thoughts and I started just explaining my thoughts too. Not just here's what I think, but here's why. And here's the context that it fits into in my brain. And trying to get people to see the biggest picture they can of how each one of these companies, each one of these projects has a place in that bigger picture. I think of everything like it blockchain is this blank canvas right now. And it's a blank canvas that every single person on the world can paint on at the same time. So right now, it's just a few people who understand it that are painting on it. But there is space for everyone to create this giant picture that will be inclusive of every single perspective all over the globe, not just Western culture, but every single place. And it doesn't matter where you're from, you will be able to find people who are just like you because we are all fundamentally human and care about very similar things. So I see this as a way to unify the entire globe around a single technology that has all of these different use cases and can appeal to everyone in the world.
I got you. So, uh, yet another question that comes out of this. Uh, it, if we look at different tokens and different blockchains, and tokens are just basically like stock tickers for companies that trade on exchanges, right, around the world. Um, if the blockchain is the company and the ticker is the token that just demonstrates the like a proxy for the value of the company, then there's all of these different companies. There's different currencies out there, and not all of them are interoperable. I think in our conversation we've touched before about like the multi-chain aspect of things, and I know that you're passionate about this subject. Can you tell us a little bit more about just this perspective?
Yeah, there's a lot of tribalism in the blockchain, and it's been that way because people are such fierce advocates for the concepts behind them. They care about decentralization, they care about individual freedom and autonomy and ownership of your data. And that has kind of led people to silo themselves in these tribes of Bitcoin maxi, Ethereum maxi, Solana maxi, whatever. And as the technology develops, the push is towards making all of these silos and these individual ecosystems work together. And more platforms are seeing that, okay, we can start on this chain, but we can add the functionality of this other chain to include those communities into what we're doing. And so that's the whole idea of multi-chain is how can you make your platform give accessibility to all of these communities all at the same time and allow for the currencies that are used in these ecosystems to be swapped between each other effortlessly, frictionlessly, as transparent as possible. And that's what users want. They don't want to go to one exchange and buy Bitcoin and swap it into something else that they can only use on another blockchain that only has a use in that ecosystem. That was kind of how things have been for the last few years. And thankfully, people are realizing that this maxi mentality, this maximalism of a certain technology over the other, it kind of limits the growth because you're not seeing the opportunity that is available to you. And I see, as a person who comes into this space from a different perspective, that caring so much about which tribe wins, which team wins, is kind of a waste of time and energy, mental energy and physical energy, because everything is growing technologically to give us all the same starting point, basically. So then it doesn't matter which ecosystem you're in, which chain you have, which currency you have. It will be more about, are you a part of this ecosystem in at all? And then how can you reach all of these different communities? So we're seeing a lot of companies who started on one chain add 15 different chains to their platform because they want to have those individual communities be a part of what they're doing and see their vision and be able to participate in it.
Yeah, no, thank you for that answer. It makes a lot of sense. You're bringing up the inclusivity versus exclusivity. Like if we at earlier stages of what we refer to as the blockchain, crypto, the Web3 industry, are so protective of our own internal interests as a project, as a company, as a blockchain, then we're missing the bigger picture that we're, like the tide lifts all boats. There is an opportunity for us to rise. The Web 2 community is global and it's billions of people. The Web3 community is global, but you got only early adopters in at this moment.
Mm.
Only really the early adopters, people that have been willing always to take risks, that have always played with new technologies, that were willing to lose at the, you know, at the, but also explore the opportunity to gain significantly. Um, the mass adoption will take time, but this second wave of people that are on the fence, but for whatever reason are not taking action, is what bothers me the most. Now, when I say bothers, I see an opportunity to bring them into the space, which will again help everybody. I mentioned this to you earlier that I was talking to a friend who's 38 years old, who is savvy, in terms of technology. He's not a tech person, but savvy, right? Knows social media, knows how to create content, post, knows how to navigate, the apps. He's not a developer. He doesn't know how to code. Neither do I, but a savvy person. And when I asked him in a conversation about just different things, hey, what's your take on blockchain? What's your take on Web3, on crypto? He's like, oh, well, I know this, and that. I've heard this, and that. Like, have you actually tried? Have you, opened a wallet? Have you registered on an exchange? Do you hold anything in your portfolio? Have you gotten curious about a particular project that could be relevant to what you do in real estate and in other areas that he's in? No. This is the category of people. You're talking about a 38-year-old. You are at the peak of your economic productivity. You've got another 15, 20 years of being there and being a great contributor to the global economy. And you're not even touching this, and it's been around for now over a decade. That is what worries me, and it's our duty, our job, to get these people over the fence. And if you were to talk to these people right now through this podcast, what would you recommend, Kelly, as a way, right? There's many ways. If you want to give a couple, that's fine too. What would you recommend for people that have not yet taken any steps to get into the space, to get their skin in the game?
If they're in the US, I would say go to Coinbase. Look at even Robinhood. They started adding more crypto. That's a way that you can at least have some. But I would tell them, take it off those platforms and use it to interact with the platforms that are on the blockchain. So you can see, oh, when I send this thing from my wallet to this platform, there's a little transaction involved. What is that actually doing? Okay, now it's on this platform. What can I do then? So you actually use this thing that you bought on these exchanges to do something with, rather than just letting it sit there and watching the number go up or down. You can see that it has a use other than just as some financial asset, which is something that's kind of hard. And that's why the stock comparison makes sense, but it's almost like stock mixed with computer power combined together, because this asset like can also be staked. And what that staking does, it's it's put in with the computer that helps run the network. And so as a reward for you not doing anything and just giving it to them, they give you something back. So it's better than just leaving it on these exchanges.
It's like
just to
earning
sit there.
interest, right? On
Yes.
your savings, or on your investments, or on, back in the days, CDs, certificates of deposits back in the banks,
Yes.
right? Like, it's earning interest on something that you already own, which makes
Yeah.
it an asset.
Yeah. And something that I want Western people especially to understand is that, and those of us in America, we have three superpowers that we are not aware of, that we don't understand the real value. And one of those is native speaker of English, is like something billions of people wish they had because they need it to improve their lives, and they know they do. We also have access to dollars anywhere in the world, which is something billions of people are dreaming to have. And we have freedom of movement some of the best in the whole world. So we can go wherever we want, we can have access to our money wherever we want, and we have the language to speak with the people that everyone wants. And understanding the value of the dollar and the role it plays in the global economy is something that you kind of need to understand if you really want to value crypto, because that access to dollars that we are now giving people through this technology all over the world is fulfilling an impossible dream for them. So just through
Agreed.
stable coins, like stable
Thank you. I was
coins
just
are,
about to ask you, Kelly, about stablecoins. Talk about
yeah,
stablecoins, what they are, and what they mean to the world outside of the United States.
stable coins are this. Like they are not a meme token that goes up crazy and then down crazy. It's pegged to the dollar. So it's as stable as the dollar is. And eventually we might even have stable Bitcoin coins where they, instead of using dollars, they will use Bitcoin as what it pegs it to, or there might be some other instrument. But either way, having a way for people to get dollars from anywhere in the world by accessing crypto is something that was impossible 20 years ago, and that an idea that everyone wants. And it also kind of helps reinforce the dollar dominance in some ways, but at least makes it important to the entire ecosystem. So the US government in and of itself, I think, would have a much more pro crypto stance if they understood that aspect of it. And that's something that like Circle CEO and other stablecoin providers always say, is that this is something that's kind of helping you have more influence in this ecosystem, but it provides so many opportunities for people all over the world to have access to this thing. So it's like a novel concept, and it's hard for people to understand the value if they don't know what a dollar is. But if you're like in some country and the currency is always fluctuating, you don't want to keep your money in that currency. You want to keep it in something that's stable. So most people keep it in dollars. But what if your country doesn't allow you to have dollars in your bank account? The only way that you can have that value in dollars be stable as the dollar is stable coins. That's literally in the name, stable coin. You know? So
Hey,
uh,
man, that's
it's so important. And it's used for DeFi. It's like the trading pair. So DeFi needs something to compare the currency, whatever it is on blockchain, to something that's stable and holds its value. So that is the trading pair. Everything is compared to the stable coins that hold their value. And it encourages the system to have at least one thing that's stable that you kind of compare the value to against everything.
hey, I love it, man. I remember at first when I found out about stablecoins, this was or not found out, but I got like exposure to about 4 years ago. I was like,
Mm,
why? Why does anybody? But that's the perspective of outside in. I'm looking
hmm
from the outside of the industry in, and I'm like, I have a dollar. Like, why? But the moment you go from outside in on inside out, and you go into the ecosystem that is dominated and run by blockchain protocols, different ones, right? Different tokens, different currencies. All of a sudden, you understand that you do the moment you want stability, like, yeah, you've played around, you've maybe traded, maybe you've created a project that shot from nothing to the moon, and you want to capture that value. You no longer want the variability, you don't want the risks associated with that, so you want to remove the risk out of the system. You go to a stable coin
hmm
and you hold, and then that
hmm
stable coin has become this digital dollar, the access to the digital dollar. And countries like Turkey, where the currency has been losing tremendous amount of value, and you can take multiple examples around the globe because the dollar has been strengthening in the last couple of years against all odds, in some way, shape, or form. Uh, us access to a digital dollar that we've never seen before, that is available outside of the bank. You don't have to go to a bank that has deposits in the real, basically cash currency. You don't need to store it under your mattress. You can store it on a secure device that is offline, or you can store it in an online-based, exchange-based system, what have you. The choice is yours. I'm not, I would always advocate go for the safer space or in place, but to each their own. But that, to me, gave the Web3 and gives the Web3 industry and the blockchain industry an incredible tool that no matter how speculative your project is, if you give people the ability to peg to the stable coin, which is pegged to the dollar, all of a sudden the risk may just be worth taking, and the reward may be just worth the risk that you're taking. With that said, Kelly, a few minutes here, and before we complete this episode, and I'm sure we'll be back again in the future to take even more in-depth discussions of this. I have one question about NFTs. Do you see an opportunity for the NFT technology in general to play an important role in safeguarding, protecting, maybe even, I don't know what word to use here. Doesn't matter. Safeguard or protect the user-generated content in the world of AI noise. Like, if AI produces content at scale and it's just there, no matter what we do, is there a role for NFT technology in helping to differentiate user-generated content by people in the ecosystem where we're all hooked on videos, we're all hooked on imagery, we want to see, we want to be entertained? What do you think?
I I have an idea about this, and it's kind of a blend of Web 2 thinking and Web 3 thinking. And there's this concept called soul-bound NFTs, and they're basically like you, when you're born, get a wallet and get an NFT that acts as your ID. So instead of like a birth certificate on a piece of paper, you would get an NFT that lives on the blockchain that can constantly be referenced as your identity on chain. And that can basically be your signature for everything. So everything that requires you to have your ID, your identity be verified in an official way could be attached to this. So instead of carrying around passports that we can lose or can get stolen, we have an NFT that it wouldn't connect to anything. It would be non-transferable. Like you can make NFTs be locked into a wallet. So it would be something like that. You wouldn't be able to move it. You would just be able to share it and to show people if they need it. So it would be like all of those IDs all together in one thing. And this would allow everybody everywhere to be able to verify their identity through, it would make immigration so much easier. I'm dealing with that myself right now. And
Yeah.
it would make so many processes that you would need a signature for. You could just reference this and then boom, okay, you have this is yours. All right, we know it's you. So that way of verifying the authenticity of the person and having it be this like digital signature is a way that you can kind of create that way to stand out amongst all the AI stuff. Because if you have this thing that you can reference, that you can say is yours, and everybody knows that if it doesn't have this reference point, then it's not this person. Then that's how the people can really build their brands as authentic. Because the more authentic the people are, the more human they are, the more they will stand out against all of the AI stuff. And if you have something like this, using this technology to verify everything that you see that is this person's, all at the same time, then you would be able to tell the difference. And okay, I know what I'm doing, and people know that this is me, not an AI. and it would kind of give more credibility to those people because everyone would be able to know, all right, this is them, it's not fake. Because if it doesn't have the signature, then it's not fake, or it is fake. So that's
Gotcha.
kind of my
Wow.
idea.
Hey, I like this high level thinking. We'll see what emerges in terms of solutions from this idea. I share it. I definitely share this vision of having a digital signature that verifies and validates you where it is important, wherever people are looking to generate income from their data as well. I think
Hmm.
there's going to be a requirement for validation because the age of basically ghosts generating, stealing, frauding, scamming is coming to an end in blockchain, where the idea here is security through transparency. I don't need a
Hmm.
vault. I don't need to build a firewall. I don't need an antivirus. I don't need to hide away from to be secure. If I
Hmm.
got nothing to hide and I'm transparent and I'm authentic me and I'm building a real brand, the world will demand for you to show yourself and reveal yourself. So
Yes.
it's very interesting where we had it, and I thank you immensely for today's discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is again Kelly Miller, Crypto Kelly. Thank you for your insights, and I look forward to our next one in the future as well. Thank you so much, Kelly, and to our viewers and listeners, thank you for your time. We'll see you soon on another episode of On Chain Attention. Bye bye.
Thanks a lot.